Hi, Namalita. This is my channel, The Midnight Librarian, and today I'll be doing my April TBR. So for the month of April, I believe the Magical Readathon is going on, which is a month-long readathon hosted by G over at the Book Roast, who I'll have linked in the description down below if you want to go check her out. I highly suggest it. She has some really fun content. But the Magical Readathon is a readathon that she's been hosting for several years now, and basically has moved from a popular fan club of a popular series to like her own thing, which I thought was pretty cool, where it's almost very much like Dungeons and Dragons, and it's like you get to create your character, you get to and go to attend this academy and choose your calling and have like magical pluses and minuses. I enjoy it, but how complicated it is in terms of it can be a little complex and it's a lot to remember. I'm not necessarily feeling some of the prompts that are for this readathon this year or the spring equinox, so I will be doing my Pokemon cards choose my TBR. Typically I don't do that with these readathons, but I think what I'm going to go ahead and do this year is go ahead and have my Pokemon cards choose my TBR, and if it's calling to me, if a particular calling is calling to me, then I'll go ahead and do that, but otherwise I'm not too worried about it. If you don't know what my Pokemon cards choose my TBR is, I will have a playlist linked if you want to go check it out. But basically it's like a TBR jar, but instead of a jar I have a box, and then instead of like slips of paper with prompts on them, I have Pokemon cards, and each Pokemon type has a prompt attached to them that I then pick out my TBR for. So I'm going to go ahead and mix these up. I did get a little more booster packs to kind of help fill this up a bit. Go ahead and do Paldean Fates. There are a couple books I would like to get to, but I'm not too worried about it at this point. Like, I'm kind of just gonna see where this takes me, really. I just want to keep my goals in mind. The buzzword challenge, book of the month, which I'm all caught up in, thankfully. 24 of 2024 I am a little behind in, and reading an Indigenous author. So let's get rid of this first card and just jump right into it. So this is a water energy card, and for energy cards it's to find a book with the color on the cover. And for this, there's so many options. I may regret this later because this is a bit of a chunker. It's one that I've had on my radar for the last like several years, and just keep putting it aside just because I don't know why. So for the water energy card, I would like to go with the Book of M by Pang Shepherd. We have some blue line work in here that works really well. So the Book of M by Pang Shepherd. I have read a Pang Shepherd before. I read the Cartographers, which wasn't a bad premise, but I didn't necessarily like the execution of it. This one is kind of a dystopian of sorts where people are losing their shadows. In the middle of a market in India, a man's shadow disappears as rolling 24-hour news coverage tries to explain the event. More cases are discovered. The phenomenon spreads like a plague as people learn the true cost of their lost part, their memories. 2 years later, Ori and his wife Max have escaped the forgetting by hiding in an abandoned hotel deep in the woods of Virginia. They have settled into their new reality until Max too loses her shadow. Knowing the more she forgets, the more dangerous she will become to the person most precious to her. Max runs away, but Ori refuses to give up what little time they have left before she loses her memory completely and desperately follows her trail. That's all I really want to know about it. It's a absolutely gorgeous cover. It is a bit of a chunker. How many pages? We're reaching the 400. Okay, so we haven't quite hit 500, but it is like 485 was the last one I saw. Yep, 485 pages, which is a bit above my average. So, but I am eager to get to this, so hopefully I'm able to get to it this month. Next. We have a Ceruledge, which is an evolved form of Cadet. Okay, so basically this is a psychic Pokemon. It is also a holographic. So that is to read a thriller like a most anticipated thriller. So whether that is, usually with these ones, it's one that I've been meaning to get to, like I've been really feeling. It doesn't necessarily have to be a new release or an anticipated release, even though that's what it says, like most anticipated. It's basically one I just really want to get to. And I think what I'm going to do, go ahead and do for Ceruledge is choose my book for the month of April, which I finally got into the Evernight by Illumicrate. And just based off the theme and reading the synopsis, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Murder Road by Simone St. James, which is a new release. I'm pretty sure this is what it is. It's supposed to come in April. So I'm hoping it's not too late in April because this book itself came out in March. But it's a horror mystery thriller. And basically we are following April and Eddie, who've taken a wrong turn. They're trying to get to their honeymoon destination when they find someone walking along the side of the road, and it's a hitchhiker. They pick them up. It's this woman who, like, they're a little suspicious of, but then they see that she's like bleeding profusely, so they like take her to a hospital only to find out that she dies. And apparently there's been multiple killings on this road, and the police think that it's April and Eddie that have done it. That's all I really know. That's all I really want to know. And this is set in like 1995. So I'm pretty sure this is the book that's coming in the Evernight. But if it's not, or if it comes in late, what I will be picking is The Invocations by Crystal Sutherland, who I don't know if I've read from before. I have read from Simone St. James before. But Crystal Sutherland, a long time ago, I read Our Chemical Hearts, which wasn't necessarily a bad one. I just wasn't too thrilled. And then House of Holo is on my 24 of 2024. I should have just chose that one in all honesty. But I think I'm still waiting on it through Libby. So this is her newest release, and from my understanding, it's like a horror mystery thriller that's young adult. There's 3 girls, 1 supernatural killer on the loose. Zara Jones believes in magic because the alternative is too painful to consider. That her murdered sister is gone forever and there is nothing she can do about it. Rather than grieving and moving on, Zara decides she will do whatever it takes to claw her sister back from the grave, even trading in the occult. So that's all I know. That's all I really want to know. So I think that's my choice, either this one or... So we'll see. Oh dang! What is this? Oh my god. So this is a Wug Trio, which is essentially an aquatic form of Doug Trio, really. That's a really cool full holo, actually. So this is a water Pokemon, which is to read a book on a different continent, country, continent, or planet. And because it's a full holo like this, it can be like a new purchase, essentially. I did my anticipated releases like last week, and I can't remember what was part of them now.
2 very boring minutes later.
Okay, so for Wug Trio, what I want to get is Butter, a Novel of Food and Murder by Asako Yazuki, translated by Polly Barton. This is a cult Japanese bestseller about a female gourmet cook and a serial killer and the journalist's intent on cracking her case, inspired by a true story. This is very much giving me like, what's that one, that cannibal one? I don't remember the name. I don't remember, but it's this cover. But Butter, we are following a gourmet cook, Manako Kaji, who sits in a Tokyo detention center convicted of the serial murders of lonely businessmen who she is said to have seduced with her delicious home cooking. The case has captured the nation's imagination, but Kaji refuses to speak with the press, entertaining no visitors. That is until journalist Rika Machida writes a letter asking for her recipe for beef stew, and Kaji can't resist writing back. Rika, the only woman in her news office, works late each night, rarely cooking more than ramen. As the visits unfold between her and the steely Kaji, they are closer to a masterclass in food than journalistic research. Rika hopes this gastronomic exchange will help her soften Kaji, but it seems that she might be the one changing. With each meal she eats, something is awakening in her body. Might she and Kaji have more in common than she once thought? So yeah, obviously this is set in Tokyo. It is a thriller mystery, also contemporary, and it's actually been released since 2017, but the US release by Echo is coming out April 16th. So, and actually, I don't know if I had talked about that in my anticipated April releases. I think I'll have to insert that in there. So, yeah, that's my choice for Wug Trio. Next. This is Heat Rotom. Heat Rotom, which is a fire Pokemon. It is also a reverse holo. So what that means is that I choose a book that was highly talked about at one point. It doesn't necessarily or was talked about a lot, like, you know, one of those booktube darlings, or just like something that made its rounds through social media. And a reverse holo means that it's a backlist. Okay, so backlist to me is anything that was published like over a year ago. And so I think for this, I'm going to do, for Heat Rotom, what I'm going to go ahead and do is do Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. I recently read The Unmaking of June Pharaoh by Adrienne Young and really enjoyed it. And I've heard nothing but good things for Spells for Forgetting. I may do a mix of audiobook with physical book, but I'll probably have to interlibrary loan the physical. Yeah. So this is a fantasy mystery romance. We're following Emery Blackwood, whose life has changed forever the night her best friend was found dead, and the love of her life, August Salt, was accused of murdering her. Years later, she's doing what her teenage self swore she would never do, living a quiet existence on the misty remote shores of Seorsea Island and running the family business, Blackwood's tea shop, herbal tonics, and tea leaf readings. But when the island, rooted in the folklore and magic, begins to show signs of strange happenings, Emery knows that something is coming. The morning she wakes to find that every single tree on Seorsea has turned color in a single night, August returns for the first time in 14 years and unearths the past that the town has tried to desperately forget. So that's all I know. That's all I really want to know. I know that on Libro, this one in particular is like full cast, so I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, that is my pick for a Heat Rotom. Yeah. Next. This is Camerupt, which is the evolved form of Numel. It's another fire Pokemon, and we know what that means. It's just to read a book that everyone was talking about at some point or another. It doesn't really matter because this isn't a holographic or anything, so I can choose whatever. So for Camerupt, I'm going to go ahead and choose A History of Wild Places by Shay Earnshaw. Mostly because it works for the Book of the Month pick for the month, but also because it was one that I remember making its rounds at one point when it first came out. This was a December 2021 pick, and I have heard mixed things about it. I believe it was like culty. Travis Wren has an unusual talent for locating missing people. Hired by families as a last resort, he requires only a single object to find the person who has vanished. When he takes on the case of Maggie St. James, a well-known author of dark, macabre children's books, he's led to a place many believe to only be legend. Known as Pastoral, this reclusive community was founded by like-minded people searching for simpler ways of life. But soon after Travis stumbles upon it, he disappears, just like Maggie St. James. Years later, Theo, a lifelong member of Pastoral, discovers Travis's abandoned truck beyond the border of the community. No one is allowed in or out, not without risking bringing in a disease, the rot, into Pastoral. Unraveling the mystery of what happened reveals secrets that Theo, his wife Calla, and her sister Bee keep from one another. Secrets that prove their perfect isolated world isn't as safe as they believe, and that the darkness takes many forms. Yeah. Next. This is Dutch bun. Oh, I get it, because it's made out of, it's like a baked good. Okay, it's an evolved form of Fido. Ha. It's a psychic. This is so weird. This would have been perfect for butter. Yeah, so this is psychic, so it's to read a thriller. Okay, so for Dutch bun, I'm going to go ahead and choose The Majesties by Tiffany Zhao. This is a mystery thriller where we are following Gwendolyn and Estella, who have always been as close as sisters can be, growing up in a wealthy, eminent, and sometimes deceitful family. They've relied on each other for support and confidence, but now Gwendolyn is lying in a coma, the sole survivor of Estella's poisoning of their whole clan. As Gwendolyn struggles to regain consciousness, she desperately retraces her memories, trying to uncover the moment that led to this shocking and brutal act. Was it their aunt's mysterious death at sea, Estella's unhappy marriage to a dangerously brutish man, or were the shifting loyalties and unspoken resentments at the heart of their opulent world too much to bear? Can Gwendolyn at last confront the carefully buried mysteries to their family's past and the truth about who she and her sister really are? Yeah. So this is a one of my 24 of 2024 picks. So I am a little behind on them, but I believe already have this through Libro, so that'll be great. Next. So many fire types. Okay, we have Charmeleon, who's the evolved form of Charmander, and so another fire type, which means another book that was talked about. Let's go ahead and for Charmeleon do the Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. So this one don't own, but I hope to get it through interlibrary loan. And the reason, I've just been really curious about it because I keep seeing it everywhere, and I know that it's been highly talked about, or talked about. I think there's also a bunch of mixed feelings about this. And I'm not necessarily interested in listening to it. I've tried a sample and just wasn't clicking with the narrator, so I think this will be something I get in through interlibrary loan because I know my library doesn't have it. But we are following a Cambridge professor, Emily Wilde, who is good at many things. She is foremost expert on the study of fairies. She is a genius scholar and a meticulous researcher who is writing the world's first encyclopedia of fairy lore. But Emily Wilde is not good at people. She could never make small talk at a party or even get invited to one, and she prefers the company of her books, her dog Shadow, and the fair folk to other people. So when she arrives in a hardscrabble village of Ronsvik, Emily has no intentions of befriending the gruff townsfolk, nor does she care to spend time with another new arrival, her dashing and insufferably handsome academic rival, Wendell Bambleby. Who manages to charm the townsfolk, muddle Emily's research, and utterly confound and frustrate her. So I feel like this is going to be like a rivals to lovers of sorts. But yeah, I've been really curious about this one because people have mixed feelings on it, but also I really enjoy the UK cover, and I've been seeing it on my Pingu particularly, and it's not that expensive, so if I enjoy it I would really like to get it. I'm not the biggest fan of the US cover, so yeah, that's my choice for that one. So many. Okay, this is Numel, which is a fire type. You get it. Okay, so, oh my goodness. Okay, do I have, Okay, so for Numel, I'm going to go ahead and choose God Killer by Hannah Kaner. This has been on my TBR before and I just wasn't able to get to it. I'm hoping to put it on here again and get to it. This cover still is absolutely stunning, and I know that I think the second book is out or has come out recently. See, Kissin ripped her sword out through the god's side in a stink of blood and dank water, and the shrine behind the waterfall shattered. The god made no sound as her flesh turned back into the current and sank into the river, releasing it for the town and villages it fed, to thrive or fail. But she managed to last barb to Kissin's mind. When Midrin falls to the gods, your kind will be the first to die. Kissin's family were killed by zealots of a fire god. Now she makes a living killing gods and enjoys it. That is until she finds a god she cannot kill. Skedi, a god of white lies, has somehow bound himself to a young noble, and they are both on the run from unknown assassins. Joined by a disillusioned knight on a secret quest, they must travel to the ruined city of Blenraden, where the last of the wild gods reside, to each beg a favor. Pursued by demons in the midst of burgeoning civil war, they will all face a reckoning. Something is rotting at the hearts of the kingdom, and only they can be the ones to stop it. So I think this one has been fairly popular here on on BookTube, so I'm gonna hopefully give this one another shot. Not that I think I remember reading the first chapter or first couple pages and just not getting into it. Wasn't feeling it at the time, but I mean, I really want to because this cover is gorgeous. This is Pineco. Perfect. Okay, I've been trying to get this one on here, and there's so many fire Pokemon. Okay, this is a grass Pokemon, which is to read a book with botanical stuff on the cover, and for that I'm going to choose The Butcher of the Forest by Primi Mohammed. This is a 24 of 2024 pick that I've been meaning to get to. This is also an anticipated read for this year. It came out in March. Was it March? February? One of the two. I think it was February. I've read Primi Mohammed before. I read The Animal Migration of Clouds, which I liked the writing of, but my mood at the time wasn't great, so it kind of lowered my my enjoyment of the book. But I hope to enjoy this one because the cover itself is like absolutely stunning. But we are basically following a woman who has to go into this like enchanted, dangerous forest to rescue this tyrant's children, and she only has like one day to do it. And the reason she has to do it is because she's gone into the forest before and has been the only one to come out alive. So yeah, I'm very intrigued, very interested. Also, the reason why this one needs to be on this TBR as well is because it's the only one so far that has the buzzword for the month of April, which was a nature word, forest. So everything else doesn't really have that. I guess wild places would have worked, but we're going to ahead and do this one. Next. We have Cottony. I didn't realize it was a psychic. Okay. It is a psychic Pokemon, which is to read a thriller. I'm getting a little nervous with how big my physical file is, but I would like for Cottony, the psychic, I would like to get to Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. This is more of a horror with thriller elements to it, but you know what, my game, whatever. But they basically, the reason I want to get to this is because S.A. Barnes has another book coming out, I believe in April, and to me, I think it is in the same universe as Dead Silence because it sounds like it's like a continuation, even though like Goodreads is saying that they're not. But I would still like to get to this one. Claire Kovalik is days away from being unemployed, made obsolete, and her beacon repair crew picks up a strange distress signal. With nothing to lose and no desire to return to Earth, Claire and her team decide to investigate. What they find is shocking. The Aurora, a famous luxury space liner that vanished on its maiden tour of the solar system more than 20 years ago. A salvage claim like this could set Claire and her crew up for life, but a quick search of the ship reveals something isn't right. Whispers in the dark, flickers of movement, messages scrawled in blood. Claire must fight to hold on to her sanity and find out what really happened on the Aurora before she and her crew meet the same ghastly fate. I'm realizing a really dark theme this month, despite it being April, and getting into the swing of spring, but you know what? We're going with it. And this is the last card for the month, which is a trainer card, which is rare candy. So that is it's an item, and that is to read a library book. And for that, it's another heavy topic. It's a book, and that is going to be Chain Gang All Stars by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. My apologies if I completely butchered that. But basically, I've had this on another TBR and wasn't able to get to it. I had started it. I was like 132 pages in and ultimately enjoying it, but I pulled it down to focus on other things. So I still do have it out from through Interlibrary Loan. It's actually currently at work because that's where I was reading it. But this is, we are following a couple of women who are currently gladiators fighting for their freedom within a depraved private prison system that's not too different from the current system in America. Yeah, it's Loretta Thurwar and Hamara Hurricane Stacker are the stars of Chain Gang All Stars, the cornerstone of CAPE, a criminal action penal entertainment, a highly popular, highly controversial profit-raising program in America's increasingly dominant private prison industry. It's the return of the gladiators and prisoners are competing for the ultimate prize, their freedom. So yeah, like even 132 pages in, I was still like, we were still getting the scope of it. Like I said, I wasn't not enjoying it. It was just going a little slower than I was expecting it to at the time, and wanted to move on to something else for the time being. So I do hope to get back into that because ultimately I have this book out until May, before I need to return it. So I might as well. Yeah. So I think. So I was going to say that I think that's it, but I realized that I don't have an Indigenous read on this list. So I will look into that just because I don't know what to read just now or what I'm in the mood for. But that is here is my physical TBR, which is a bit of a stack. Maybe I'll find something on Libby or Libro that is an Indigenous author. I've been really wanting to reread Braiding Sweetgrass or Gathering Moss something by Robin Wall Kimmerer, so maybe I'll listen to one of those. But just because everything else seems so dark right now for this. But yeah. So that is it for my Pokemon cards Choose My TBR. Like I said, will look in to see if there's any of the callings from the Magical Readathon that's really like calling out to me and fits that these books can fit into, but otherwise I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, otherwise if you've heard of any of these, if you've read any of these, please let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below. Please no spoilers, I'd be really interested to hear it. Otherwise let me know what you're most highly anticipating in the month of April in terms of a book that you want to get your hands on and read. I'm really excited for Butter. So with that, if you don't want to answer any of the questions, you don't have the spoons, which is perfectly fine. Let's go ahead. There is no like butter emoji, but I see what looks like toast. Let's go ahead and do like a bread emoji. Something of that sort. You know what? Let's just do another food emoji. That's perfectly fine. Yeah. Otherwise, thank you so much for supporting. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video, subscribe if you have yet to do so, and I hope that you are in the mental mindset to enjoy your reading. I'll see you in another video very soon. Shoe.